Irish Prime Minister Micheál Martin says Israel has lost its moral compass amid escalating civilian casualties in Gaza, calling for urgent accountability.
Robert Prevost takes the name Leo XIV as he is elected the first American Pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. Serbia's President Aleksandar Vučić traveled to Moscow for Victory Day celebrations following an EU resolution critical of the country's integration process and rule of law.
North Korea fired short-range missiles into its eastern sea in what South Korea says may be a test of weapons it plans to export.
The Irish Prime Minister Micheál Martin has described Gaza as hell on earth and criticized the EU's lack of response to the humanitarian situation in Gaza, and reiterated calls to reopen the EU-Israel Association Agreement. The Prime Minister met with Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to discuss this as well as the ongoing trade war with the US. Speaking with Euronews, he said Ireland condemns Hamas terrorism and wants all the hostages kidnapped by Hamas released, but says Israel's war has lost its moral compass.
It's quite shocking what is now happening within Gaza. To have an effective blockade for 50 days and more, 60 days maybe now, in terms of food, in terms of the essentials of life, the bare necessities of life, in my view, must be considered a war crime. And I don't say that easily. I want a resolution. We want a restoration of the ceasefire. We want the release of all hostages.
Israel launched its war in Gaza in response to the Hamas attack on October 7th of 2023.
In my view, it was shocking to take people as hostages. These were innocent people at a concert in their kibbutz. I went to kibbutz Be'eri myself to see it firsthand, the impact of the horrific Hamas attack on Israel. And that was shocking and horrible. And I've condemned it from the outset, and I went there to show empathy with the people who had been attacked. So all those, the hostages should have been released a long time ago. But the war that has been waged in response, in my view, has lost any moral compass at this stage in terms of its unacceptable impact on the civilian population and on children.
Israel described in the past the Irish policy as extreme anti-Israeli. You can watch the whole interview next Tuesday on the Europe Conversation.
Robert Prevost has been elected as the first American Pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. The newly elected Pope made his first appearance in St. Peter's Square to a cheering crowd. Moments earlier, white smoke rose above the Sistine Chapel and the bells of St. Peter's Basilica rang loudly. Cardinals had just elected the 267th Pope to lead the Catholic Church. A missionary who spent his career ministering in Peru and leads the Vatican's powerful office of bishops. Prevost will take the name of Leo XIV. He was elected on just the second day of the conclave, where he needed at least 89 votes of the 133 cardinals who participated. Leo XIV will succeed Pope Francis, who passed away on Easter Monday.
President Aleksandar Vučić traveled to Moscow shortly after the European Parliament adopted a resolution critical of Serbia's European integration progress. The resolution cited Serbia's non-alignment with EU foreign policy and concerns regarding the rule of law. Vučić's attendance at the military parade on Red Square, commemorating the 80th anniversary of the victory over Nazism, faced travel disruptions. Latvia reportedly denied his plane overflight, leading to a reroute via Turkey and Azerbaijan. This change resulted in a delay in Baku while awaiting permission to continue. Upon arrival in Moscow, Vučić stated he anticipated criticism from Brussels and said he expected the EU to punish him and not Serbia.
Nije bilo naporno, još uvijek smo energični, mislim da se vidi po našem skakanju. Put je prelep, sad predlika kroz koje prolazimo su apsolutno predivni, priroda, ljudi i sve je divno i kad dođemo na ove dočeke prosto energija je nevjerovatna. Od puta očekujemo sad narednih par dana da ne budu toliko zahtjevni kao danas je stvarno bio najteži, ali svakako ne očekujemo da bude prelako, tako da spremni smo na sve.
In a separate development, ultramarathon students reportedly reached Strasbourg around the same time. Earlier this week, a student protest movement in Serbia called for extraordinary parliamentary elections. The majority of the opposition supported this call, but the ruling party did not endorse it.
Danas je sigurno bio najnaporniji dan, imali smo najviše kilometara, ja mislim su oko 150, a i plus zato što smo kasno došli juče.
Šta je tvoja želja za rođendan?
Da se ispune zahtevi.
The ultramarathoners have reached their 13th stop en route to Brussels, where they are expected to arrive on Monday, May 12th. They intend to present their views on Serbia's current political and social situation.
Germany's domestic intelligence agency will temporarily stop referring to the Alternative for Germany party as an extremist organization. Last week, the intelligence agency designated the party as a right-wing extremist organization that poses a threat to democracy and the constitutional order. The AfD, however, were quick to file a lawsuit against the agency. Party leaders Alice Weidel and Tino Kruppala called the temporary suspension a partial success. The decision means the agency can no longer publicly use the extremist group categorization until the end of the proceedings. It also means the agency has fewer legal options for monitoring the AfD.
They may be small and seemingly harmless, but emojis can carry more weight than you might guess, sometimes acting like digital social hand grenades. While some might see an emoji as friendly or funny, another might find it confusing or even offensive. To explore this further, passers-by in Reykjavik were asked to interpret a selection of emojis. Some found certain emojis joyful, while others thought it expressed sadness.
Hvaða merkingu leggur í þetta tákn?
Að vera leiður eða þreyttur eða eitthvað svoleiðis.
Ég myndi svona skjóta á að þetta væri sem sagt fallin frá.
Deyja. Þetta þennan nota ég mjög mikið. Þetta var oft, þetta er mjög, þetta er eins og hlátukallinn nema bara hann er dauður. Það gefur svona svolítið skinn og hafur dáið úr hlátri.
Þessi er svolítið leiður.
Fyndið.
En þessi?
Þetta er eitthvað sem er ömurlegt eða dauði.
Even the classic smiley face isn't always a safe territory. The degree of a smile and the shape of the emoji's mouth can send subtly different signals. The exercise showed that in the world of digital communication, meaning isn't fixed, and that even the simplest symbols can speak volumes.
At least one person was killed in an Israeli airstrike near the southern Lebanese city of Nabateh, according to Lebanon's health ministry. 8 others have been reported injured. The Israeli military said it bombed infrastructure belonging to the Hezbollah militant group, including weapons and tunnel shafts as part of an underground network. Israel accused Hezbollah of regrouping and maintaining its infrastructure, violating a US-brokered ceasefire from November. Hezbollah says it will not lay down its weapons while Israel controls part of southern Lebanon and continues its strikes on the country. Israel still controls 5 hilltop points on Lebanese territory following its ground invasion last year.
North Korea has fired a series of short-range ballistic missiles off its east coast on Thursday. The South Korean military says the missiles may have been launched to test their performance before Pyongyang plans to export the weapons.
그는 필요한 조치를 하고 있고 질문하신 그 배경이나 의도에 대해서는 분석하고 있습니다. 그러나 일부 수출을 하기 위한 성능 점검이나 또 비행 안정성을 평가하기 위한 실험일 수도 있다고 평가하고 있습니다.
Although the spokesperson did not name the intended recipient, North Korea has been sending military equipment and troops to Russia to assist in its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Pyongyang previously denied any involvement in the war. However, last month they confirmed it had indeed sent troops to assist Russia.
World leaders have expressed concern over the escalating conflict between India and Pakistan after India launched strikes into Pakistan and Pakistan-controlled Kashmir on Wednesday. U.S. President Donald Trump urged both sides to stop the violence.
It's so terrible. My position is I get along with both. I know both very well, and I want to see them work it out. I want to see them stop.
EU Foreign Chief Kaja Kallas and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer both spoke of mediation attempts.
We are engaging urgently with both countries, as well as other international partners, encouraging dialogue, de-escalation and the protection of civilians.
It is clear that this war is not good for anybody, so we are trying to mediate and bring the tensions down.
In London, Pakistan supporters gathered outside the High Commission of India, calling for peace between the two countries. Tensions have risen since 22 April when gunmen killed 26 people, mostly Indian Hindu tourists in India-controlled Kashmir. India accused Pakistan of backing the militants who carried out the attack, something Islamabad has denied.
We want peace!